taken the road, which I ended up actually doing, or you could walk through this sketchy ass tobacco fields with, coyotes and, I don't know what else, wildlife and animals and stuff you don't want to deal with at night. And I had a bike, my friend had a bike, so why would we want to bike through dirt? And, that would have just been problematic. And, I would rather take the road personally. And keep in mind, this was like 1 a.m. at this point, I believe. And so me and my buddy decide to go the roadway, and my 2 other buddies actually ended up going the tobacco fields way. So so I'm riding down this road with my buddy at 1 a.m, and all of a sudden we see this cop come towards us. So we turn around on our bikes, we go down this side street, and the cop literally, we hear it accelerating when we turn around, and we turn onto this side street, and immediately the cop literally drove by. It was so cool. I thought we were gonna get away with it at that point. The cop just drove by, just going fast and everything, like he had somewhere to be. So our thoughts were he was either going to something else, or he just didn't see us going to the side thing, because it was 1 at night, so it was pretty late, pitch dark and all that. So we ended up, going back on this main road, and we ended up getting right next to this car dealership. I remember this to this day. And this other cop comes in front of us with the spotlight, turns the spotlight on, puts it right in our eyes. I'm telling you, we almost fell off our bikes. This spotlight was so damn bright, okay? And literally, he just blinded us. He literally flashbanged us, COD 4 style, Captain Price. Flashbang through the door, flashbang at these stoners, throw the fucking flashbangs, and just completely blinded. And I was just like, what are you doing? I got off the bike, and he went on the intercom, get off the bike now, motherfucker. So we get off the bike. He starts questioning us. He searched us. I took out a lighter. He started asking me why I had a lighter. Told him I smoked cigarettes. Gave him my age. That just started a whole conversation I didn't even want to have, because ended up talking about weed. And fuck that. So, nothing ever happened. We didn't even have anything on us at the time, I don't believe. So, I think we got away with that. And so, this ended in, we didn't have reflectors on the bike. We weren't wearing helmets. We were past out curfew. He was just some bullshit. And he ended up making me call my dad and have him come get me. And it was almost 2 a.m. at this point, okay? And he made me call him at 1:45, 1:30, and I had to wake my dad up out of a sound sleep to come pick me up because we got caught riding our bikes on the side of the street. And he was so pissed. My dad was so mad. He picked us up, dropped my buddy off at my house. So I started to get out, and he's like, oh, no. Oh, no. You're staying in here. You're coming home. He was so mad. And, we ended up, I went home, and he just, I remember waking up in the morning, and my dad was like, what the fuck was that about? He started laughing, and we had a good time talking about it, but he was like, well, don't ever have the cops call me at that late at night. He was just mad it was so late, but it was actually pretty funny in the morning, but, so that was the time that I was baked on bikes and getting copped. So here's another story. First time smoking salvia, suggested by Steve Gramham. First time smoking salvia, and before I get into this, I just want to point out that I do not condone or suggest the use of salvia in any sort of way. This is something that I didn't really have a whole lot of fun with. As much as I make it sound, it wasn't that fun, and I've seen a lot of friends personally not have a good time on it, and that's why I cannot suggest it to you. As well as I'm not even sure if it's legal at this point, so smoke weed every day. That's all I can really say. So nothing else, guys. Just smoke weed. So there's this salvia phase in my town when everybody and their mother had salvia. Everybody was doing it across the street from school, just tripping balls, and you just hear them laughing like the salvia laugh. If you've ever seen or heard anybody do it, you know what it sounds like. It's funny. And so my buddy was trying to get me to do it for the longest time, and I was like immediately, no, fuck that shit. I'm only gonna smoke weed. And I stuck to that for a while until this one day that I went over to my buddy's house, and I went over to my buddy's house, and he actually managed to get me to do it. And I only took one hit of, I think it was 20 or 40x, I believe. That's what it goes by. And I remember taking this medium to large hit. and holding it in for like 10 seconds. My friends were like, hold it in, hold it in, hold it. And immediately, my eyeballs started vibrating, okay? My vision just started to get blurry, just like literally like vibrating and just going out and in a focus. And I'm like, oh gosh, like fuck this. Just blew it out as soon as that started happening. But at that point, that's when you're actually supposed to. And so I was actually doing everything right. And my friend had this light, okay? This is the notorious part of this story from when I actually made this commentary. My friend had this light next to his computer desk, and it actually spun around almost like a carnival wheel or something like that in different colors. And he had it set up so it was like level to his computer desk. So I was looking at this light tripping nuts. Like I was just seeing crazy stuff, just, colors coming out of nowhere and stuff like that. And this wheel of light started to turn into like an actual wheel, and then it started to get even more descriptive. And I remember specifically it looked like the Wheel of Fortune game show, and I could like hear the crowd in the background, and it looked like my whole friend's computer chair was on top of the spinning Wheel of Fortune. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I remember that was probably the crazy. I remember these kids came in. They're like, "Look at that kid! He's tripping on salvia." And then I just started laughing hysterically and like drooling all over the place and just laughing to the point where I just like couldn't laugh anymore. It was pretty ridiculous. And the only really thing after that I remember is going into the bathroom, and I went to go take a piss, and my friend had tiles on the walls, and like the caulk in between the tiles was like flashing at me like cameras. It was like like cameras. It was weird. It was honestly like one of the weirdest times ever. So that's why I can't really suggest that to you guys, because you can have an honestly bad time on it, and I've had friends, like I said, not have a good time. So don't ever do that. But let's get going on with the stories. We've done quite a lot already. So Finlandia, the craziest fight I have ever seen, and this took place when I was in 7th grade. I was actually at another school, not the school that I currently went to, but I was actually living in another town, and I guess there was a lot of fights there. There was at least one fight a week at that school. I don't know why. There was just a lot of violence. There was a lot of drugs. There was just a lot of stuff. A lot of kids would swear and just try and have a good time. It's really one of the most fun years of my life in school. But that's besides the fact. So the craziest fight I've ever seen actually took place. I just got to school. We were putting all our stuff in the lockers. I think it was before period 1, and there's these two girls, and they were just, kind of arguing, kind of just talking shit, kind of like not really serious. And I remember the moment it got serious, because everybody like got into this circle. Like every time there was a fight, everybody would get into this like circle formation to try to block the teachers out. Like they were really into fighting. Like they just like they just like seeing fights, doing fights. All about fights. I've never really understood it. Never been into fights, if you guys were wondering. But so the circle formed. The teachers couldn't get in. These two girls just started going ham. They started pulling out the weaves. They started smashing each other into lockers. Fucking. There's blood everywhere. I see. It's crazy. They were like, pa, 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 just, punching each other in the face, just ripping their hair out, dragging their bodies with their hair. It was just so ridiculous. And I remember this to this point. I remember the fight progressing towards me and me dodging out of the way, almost like a Fable 3 tactic, just dodging out, or Assassin's Creed, just dodging out of the way. And these girls slammed into my locker, and at the end of the fight, there was a dent right in my locker that was never there before. So I probably would have gotten mowed down in the process of that motherfucking fight. So that would have been crazy as hell. So, and at the end of the fight, I remember this to this day. Sorry if this grosses anybody out, but it was really gross, but it was really funny at the same time. There was just blood and hair. There was just so many clumps of hair all over the hallway. It was really disgusting. And that was what made what made the story funny. There was just hair it looked like someone got their hair cut in the hallway. It was funny. So, that was, the craziest fight I've ever seen. That happened in 7th grade. So, caught being high in detention by Colin Deering. So the time I got caught being high in detention was actually, I think I was a freshman, because that's when they only gave me detentions. They figured out early on my sophomore and junior year that I was not going to go to the detentions, so they kind of stopped giving them to me. So this is back when I actually went to them. So I went across the street immediately after school because we had like a 15-20 minute period before detention started. So I went across the street. I was trying to get a little high because I think it was a 2-hour detention, which is the longest one, I believe. And you know, you don't have anything to do in that 2-hour period of time because fuck homework. I'm just kidding, guys. Do your homework. Do all your work. Excel in school. Get those straight A's. Make me proud. But I never did homework, so I didn't really have anything to do. And I personally like drawing in detention. And, you know, getting a creative mindset while being high is really helpful when you're drawing. You know, you get ideas that you never even think of, and you just overall have a lot more fun with it. So I went over there trying to get a little high, and I remember these one kid, they're like, yo, man, you could have a hit of this real quick. You know, just hit me up tomorrow with some weed, and it was all cool. So I remember hitting this one hitter. And I had someone comment in the comment section below of the way I described it, and they thought it was K2, but I don't believe so. Could have been hash or something, because it was really, really, really strong. And it tasted like weed, so it might have been mixed. I don't know, but I believe it was just weed to this day. I honestly think it was just weed. So I took this one hit. It was decent. It was a decent, really big hit. I remember coughing my brains out, and smoking a cig, and then going across the street, and immediately walking to detention. I was just like, holy shit. I am so high right now. And so I sat down and immediately started sketching out because they had to do the name call. And I don't know why I was scared to do the name call. I was just waiting patiently for them to say Cody. So the names went by, and 2 names before me, there was actually someone called Colby. And I remember they said Kolb, and then they didn't even finish it. And I was like, here. And then they're like, Colby. It was so funny. I was so high, and I was like, "Oh shit, they definitely gonna know." And my friend was even like, after the detention, he was like, "Nice one, bro, nice one." So after that all happened, they actually said Cody. You know, I said it all sketchy, and I was just trying to look down because my eyes were gone. They were just gone. They were so red, redder than the devil's dick, just completely gone. So I remember doodling the coolest. I have never drawn anything as cool as that in my entire life, and I actually have lost the drawing, unfortunately, but I would love to post it on the video because it was literally the coolest thing I've ever drawn in my entire life. It was just a bunch of random stuff, and I don't even remember what it was about, unfortunately. I'd love to tell you guys, but I remember drawing the coolest thing, but I didn't tell you guys how I got caught. So it was either me fucking up with the name calling or something, or just looking at the teacher every once in a while to make sure they weren't looking at me. And my eyes were so gone, guys. So gone. So, like, I really, really think that they saw me high. And so this 2-hour detention goes by, and by the end of it, I was almost sober. And I actually think it might have been the detention in the day after, or it might have been at the end of the detention. I don't want to say either or and like lie to you guys because I'm not exactly sure. So it was either at the end of the detention or the next day because I had another one. The dean of students calls me in the middle of at the end or the next day of the detention. So got stutter mode pro over here today. So he calls me over, and he's like, let's talk in my office. And immediately I'm like, oh boy, oh shit, what is this about? And so we get into the office, I'm sketching out, shaking a little bit and everything. And he's like, one of the detention teachers said that you looked like you were high. And I'm like, oh god, oh boy, I'm done, I'm getting caught here. Like, and I was like, no, don't know what you're talking about. And I just played it off. It was awesome. I was sketching the whole time, guys. Don't get me wrong. But I immediately was just like, no, don't come to school high. I don't do that. No. And he was just like, well, I just wanted to make sure you didn't have any weed on you and to inform me that you should never bring weed to school or not smoke weed. It was kind of like the school guidance counselor from South Park. Drugs are bad. Okay. You know that guy. And he was kind of just like, you know, not even one hit before school, Cody. Not even one hit. It was so fun. It was so funny. I remember him saying that to me. So, I guess, you know, that was the time I got caught in detention because he called me and he said I looked high in there. He was like, you're looking high, or the teacher thought you looked really high or something like that. And it was just so crazy. So that was the time I got caught high in detention. So the next story I have to tell is by Pro Sniper 324, and this is the Carnival Blunt story. This is actually one of the recent stories I had to tell on my channel, and this story took place. Saying all the incorrect grammar today, I guess, guys. So this story takes place. I believe I was around sophomore, so I was around 14, 15. I might have been a little bit older. I had much experience with weed at this point, so I had a little bit of a tolerance. We still got pretty high, don't get me wrong, guys. It didn't take much at all. So this is actually one of the first times I ever smoked a blunt, too. So first time rolling a blunt, too. So me and my buddy went to this carnival. We ended up getting like $60 from, I think, my dad or something. We ended up spending it all on weed. It was pretty, that's shitty to do. Don't ever do that to your parents, guys. It's really shitty. But... So we ended up meeting up with this guy named Squirrel. This guy was selling weed. He was a carny, I guess, and his name was Squirrel. And he gave us, I think we actually got ripped off or something. I think we only got like 2.5 grams for $60. I know, we got ripped off. I was like 14. My friend was, same age. And it was in an enclosed bag. So that I always recommend when you buy weed, guys, always make sure you look at it before you buy it. So at this point in time, I had not looked at it before I bought it. I just kind of had a feel for it. And, back then I didn't even know what a feel for it was. So I just took